Hey everybody, Nick Haas here again from RBP and the newly established Guardians Theft Recovery and Private Investigation Services. I am standing here with a car that would be stolen recovery number 99 or 101. I kind of forget. My goal was to hit 100 and kind of temporarily retire until we started getting more of a business oriented system set up, because I love doing this. I love helping people, but I'm also losing my ass financially, and I need to start making some money to do this. Otherwise, I'm going to have to start dedicating my time away from helping folks to making sure everything's getting covered here as far as my bills and such with the shop. So I'm going to show you this car. This car was stolen on first week of February of this year, and it was towed into my shop yesterday. And this was the owner's daily transportation for 10 years. He loved this car. It is identical to the one that he learned to drive in, and it meant a great deal to him. He actually bothered the owner, who became a good friend for many years, to buy this car from him until he finally caved. And we don't know what exactly we're going to do with it yet. I think the plan is to see how much of it is salvageable and dismantle it to the community that's into these cars, so we can put more of them back on the road, or maybe someone will want to buy this thing as it sits and do something with it. I mean, it could be repaired, it could be fixed, but it's pretty darn rough. So let me introduce you to Tim's Tercel. This is how we found it. It had no wheels on it. I want to show you some things here, like the fact that they cut every hinge just to scrap. They did not steal this car to sell the parts. They stole it just to cut it up into pieces and scrap it. They cut the door hinges. They cut the strap. They busted the ignition out. They stomped on the roof. More cut hinges. They rammed into it with other cars to get it out of their way once they took the wheels off it. Broke what windows were left. Bent this quarter panel all up. They slammed into this B pillar, pushing it into the seat, making that pretty bad. They took this fender off for whatever reason, I guess extra scrap metal. They pulled the radiator out of it. The engine is now full of water, but does still turn over slightly. And of course, that's just jammed in there from getting hit. In order to get all the gas out of it, they cut, drilled a hole in the tank, and siphoned the gas out. Now, my son was here when this car arrived. My son is 6 years old. I had to do something I never wanted to do in my life, which was explain to him what that is. For those of you in Portland who are in this line of work, you know very well. That is an orange cap off the end of a syringe as a sign of intravenous drug users. And I told him very clearly, if you see those, get away from them immediately and find the nearest adult, preferably myself. And yeah, I never wanted to have that responsibility. It's just, the seats and stuff is salvageable. The drivetrain's probably fine. I don't know what the underside of it looks. The owner took the inclinometer off the dashboard. It had 232,258 miles on it. They literally stole it, drove it in there, and destroyed it. Literally, that's it. They took the wheels that were on it off and cut the tires off the rims and scrapped the metal from it. So I'm going to do a separate video about this car, about getting this to run again. My goal is to make it run, start, and operate under its own power, so we can drive around the block and make sure the engine and trans and everything is okay. So those can hopefully be salvaged to someone who needs them for these cars, because these are really fun little cars. This is a front-wheel drive car until it is put in four-wheel drive mode, and it gives you a granny gear, and these are amazing little off-road cars. They're absolutely unstoppable. They drive great. I love these things, but we've got a lot of work to do just to see if this motor is salvageable again. So we're going to see what we can do with this poor thing. But this is what Portland has become. This is what happens when they steal your old car. They ain't stealing it for the parts. They ain't stealing it to sell it to somebody. these guys just chop these things up. When I went in there that day, I was there to recover one car. One car. In total, we found 47 reported stolen vehicles within the confines of that homeless camp at the end of Midway Road off Columbia Boulevard, North Portland at Midway and Richards. The police were notified when I arrived. I was informed that there were 2 shootings down there in the last month. They lacked the resources to respond, and I was on my own. I told them, well, I am armed. I am going in there with the intent to recover vehicles. You're not going to send any backup? And they go, nope. And I go, all right, well, I'm going in there, and if I'm threatened, I will shoot, and I will shoot to kill. And within 20 minutes of me making that conversation, officers arrived on scene and still refused to go into the site. I went in there and began driving what vehicles ran and drove out. The inhabitants began to confront me about it. I had nothing to say to them. They began to try to strike me with their vehicle that they had there that was still running and driving. I proceeded to cut the tires on the vehicle so they were deflated, so they couldn't operate it. They still tried to hit me. One individual camped behind me with a very large pipe, tried to strike me in the back of the head. Another friend yelled out to warn me. I pulled out my .45 ACP Kimber pistol and fired a warning shot into the air. And when I came out of there, I was quickly confronted by the officers, had my pistol confiscated for the duration of a discharged firearm within city limits investigation. I will get it back, they say. Yeah, I was the only one cited that day. We found 47 vehicles being chopped up and treated like this one. And I was the only guy who got in any trouble that day. No one was arrested. This is the city of Portland. If you're a Portland official or an officer watching this, y'all should be ashamed. It's Nick Haas, signing off.